Well, good evening, folks. Welcome to the MCU's Bleeding Edge. We are live Friday night, July 18th, to discuss the 1992 legal drama, A Few Good Men. Now, if you're not familiar with this film, this was a huge hit in 1992, big awards season, grasper of awards that year. It was a huge success and was probably one of the best films from 1992. I would say myself. Huge cast of people. So many great actors and actresses in this film that just were huge 1990s staples. And this is just a really well done film. Now, if you're not familiar, it is based off Aaron Sorkin's play. I believe it was, a 1989 play he did. It is based off of that. That was produced for Castle Rock Entertainment. This was put out by Columbia TriStar Pictures on a budget of 33 to 40 million and ended up taking in 243.2 million in 1992. It was released December 11th, 1992. So this was a later season, of that year film. And I was really shocked. I was really shocked to see that it had came out so late in the year, but just in time for the awards season. So, of course, as always, we have our great panelists tonight. We have, of course, Mr. Jeff S. TrueKnowledge, my co-host. How are we doing, Jeff?
Yeah, man, I'm fucking great, dude. I'm loving it. You know what I'm saying? Good movie to review, and as usual, good creators to hang out with and whatnot. We got a guest on tonight, and I could always be doing better. You know what I'm saying? I'm on a little bit of a let's just say sexless streak lately. But let's hope that that will change soon, sir.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you for sharing that and with everyone here watching the video. Anywho, we also have joining us, returning with us from his first time being on, from the Blurred Wire, Mr. Will. How we doing, Will?
I'm good. Really excited to talk about a movie that is so iconic and really left such an impact on our, cinematic landscape. It wouldn't be the same without this film. So I'm excited to dive in.
Excellent. Great to have you, sir. And of course, also we have our other regular panelist, Mr. Time Cop himself, Mr. Time Lord, Mr. Toxic Avenger, Mr. Andreas, the pop culture guy. How we doing, Andreas?
Really good. I'm very excited to talk about this movie. Huge Jack Nicholson fan and a huge Tom Cruise fan, and of course my beloved crush and former girlfriend in the 90s timeline, Demi Moore. It was my former girlfriend in the 90s before I had to jump into the 2000s, folks. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And he just everyone, just to let you know, that's delusional and just a story, folks. He didn't really time travel back and date Demi Moore.
Cyber, if you don't mind me interjecting really quick, the movie was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, did not win any of them, and they were Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor for Jack Nicholson, Best Film Editing, and Best Sound Mixing. And they did not win any of them.
Okay, thank you for that, sir. I was actually going to get to that later, but that's okay.
All
right. Excellent, sir. Thank you for that knowledge. Great to know. Anywho, I don't think a lot of people realize this is actually directed by Rob Reiner, which I had completely forgotten that it was directed by him. I mean, we all might recognize his work from Spinal Tap to Princess Bride to playing Meathead on, All in the Family. But at the same time, I always forget that he had directed this film, and this is, I think, one of his best directing features. I feel, between this and Stand By Me, I would have to say those are 2 of his all-time favorites. Princess Bride, very close lead there too as well. But I always forget that he had directed this, and I thought he did such a great job with it. I think it's kind of funny that I felt this was kind of not in his wheelhouse at that time, because pretty much most of the films he had created at the time, I feel were very kind of family oriented. Between Princess Bride, Stand By Me, even though Stand By Me was, kind of a horror flick slash kind of drama flick, it still had pertained with teens. It had to do with kind of like family life and stuff like that. So it still felt kind of like along the lines it pertained more to teens. So it felt very much like a family film. So I think that him coming in and doing this like real serious legal drama, it was very different at the time for him when he actually directed this. So just to kind of start us all off, I was kind of get your guys' thought process on what do you think of Rob Reiner's job with this film? And I'll start with you, Time Cop.
Oh, yeah. Well, I I was thinking like, who's Rob Reiner? And then I had to check he's the director that did Princess Bride. This is a Spy on Tap. He's a great director. I mean, I think he's consistent. He directed the most iconic films of the 80s and the 90s. So if he did that, then you're doing a good job. By the way, his last movie, and you just brought up Stand By Me, Stephen King movie, great one. He also did Misery. That was his last movie before he did this movie. So I think the transition to this, it's not far. It's just I think he does a good job of tackling different genres. You brought up the family drama, the family movies he's done, like Princess Bride. But then you get like When Harry Meets Sally, a romantic, rom-com, like the earliest rom-coms, right? And that's great. And then you get he did two of the biggest Stephen King movies that people talk about, besides the usual suspects, The Shining and Carrie, the Brian De Palma movie. So he's a very good director. And I was very excited to see this movie because it's actually my first time seeing this movie. Now, everyone knows the iconic line from Jack Nicholson, which we'll get into later in the review. I always knew that. But I never really get the chance to see this movie, and so I was very happy that I had time to see this movie, and it's great. I'm very excited to talk about this, and it's in good hands. I mean, first off, this is Aaron Sorkin. I knew Aaron Sorkin wrote this, so I was like, nope, it's gonna be a good time. He's always great. I mean, you've seen his work, like The Social Network and other stuff. He's great. So you're not gonna be disappointed. And same thing with the director. I mean, I love his movies, especially. Misery and Harry Meets Sally, like they're so good. And this is Spy on Tap, so funny. It turns up to 11, so if you understood my reference from Spy on Tap. But anyway, but that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, sir. Will, your thoughts on Rob Reiner?
Yeah, so even before jumping on this, I didn't even realize that Rob Reiner directed this movie. I'm not like hugely familiar with his work. But then I saw a picture of him and I was like, oh, I've like seen him, like he acts almost as much as he directs. And I thought it was very interesting looking at his filmography. It looks like he started acting before he started directing, but like a lot of actors, they'll kind of make the transition into directing and they're a director now. But he kept acting in some really big movies like The Wolf of Wall Street. And he continued acting even after establishing such a successful history as a director. And to me, that tells me someone who's in it for the love of the craft, not necessarily the money or the checks. It feels like he's in it for the stories that are being told. And this is a prime example of it. On my channel, The Blurred Wire, I usually talk about like, superheroes, Pokemon, Star Wars, nerdy stuff. But I actually love legal dramas. Like besides like sci-fi action, legal drama is my next favorite. Law and Order is my favorite TV show. I watch The Good Wife, Suits, The Good Fight. I'm gonna start watching that next. Any legal show, I love watching. Bull's another one of them. I don't know what it is, but I love legal dramas. So this one, and I always heard of it as being iconic, but I never got a chance to watch it. And so seeing it makes me want to check out more things by Rob Reiner because again, I didn't even realize how prolific or established of a director he was before this film. But I guess that kind of sums it up. This is going to make me dive into Rob Reiner a little bit more.
Excellent. Thank you. How about you, Jeff? Any thoughts on Rob Reiner?
Not many, sir. I honestly, I've never seen The Princess Bride. Honestly, it was just never, suggested to me as a kid or put on the TV for me as a kid. So I personally never saw it because even when I got older, It just wasn't my kind of film, so I never went back and watched it. I've heard good things about it, you know, but anyways, so no, I've never seen either of the films that you told me he directed before this film, so I have no idea what you know, what they were like, you know, what kind of director he is, you know. Obviously they were very different types of films compared to this film that we're reviewing tonight. So you know, so there's major contrast there, right? You know, but I will say that I always find it very you know, interesting and very I have a lot of respect. I think for you know, for directors, you know, actors, but you know, especially directors who aren't willing to cross genres, you know, in their field, you know what I mean, and you know, go from making, you know, two very lighthearted, PG-13-ish, you know, lightly comedic, you know, type films, you know, to something as sophisticated and adult, you know, as A Few Good Men is, right? That's a big jump, you know, that's a big switch from those other films. So, you know, that's great to see, you know, and you know, he did a great job with this movie, you know. So, you know, that's pretty much all I got to say, sir. You know, I thought that the movie was really good. Obviously, he must have done a great job with his directing on it, I would assume, you know. And, you know, besides that, I don't really know much about the guy.
All right. Thank you. All right. So, great job, everyone. Thank you for your thoughts on Mr. Rob Reiner. Anywho, so yeah, like I said, this is based off Aaron Sorkin's play, and he actually did the screenplay for this film as well. It has a huge ensemble cast. I mean, this cast is crazy big. I mean, from, you know, Tom Cruise to Jack Nicholson, we got Demi Moore, Kevin Bacon, Kiefer Sutherland, Kevin Pollak, J.T. Walsh, Noah Wiley, Cuba Gooding Jr., Alexander Berkeley, Matt Craven. We have Christopher Guest, which, you know, I totally have forgotten was in it, along with Cuba Gooding Jr., because it's just like literally one scene. But this was like the heyday of 90s superstars, and there were just so many people in this film. And it was funny just watching it again and seeing all the people that were in it. I was like, holy crap, I forgot how many people were in this. But, you know, of course, you know, this movie's most iconic line, of course, "You can't handle the truth," is, of course, the biggest thing anybody's ever heard probably about this movie. That was like the most iconic. It's usually the scene they show whenever they're talking about the film, stuff like that. But there's so many great scenes in this film that are just as worthy, I thought, of that. And, you know, I think that this is one of those films that, you know, 33 years later now is still very poignant and still very entertaining and, you know, still very powerful, you know, even 30 plus years later. So basically, to get into the story, basically it starts out at the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base in Cuba. Private William Santiago, a United States Marine, is tied up and beaten in the middle of the night. After he is found dead, Lance Corporal Harold Dawson and Private First Class Loudon Downey are accused of his murder and face a court-martial. Their defense is assigned to United States Navy JAG Corps Lieutenant Daniel Cappy, a callow lawyer with an impressive and expedient track record for plea bargains and without any court experience. So we'll stop there. We get introduced to these characters. We get introduced to Tom Cruise's character. And I kind of feel like that's kind of like the first kind of big portion of the film. You get quite a bit going on there, especially with the murder and, you know, getting introduced to Tom Cruise and all that kind of stuff. So what are your guys' thoughts on that beginning of the film, leading up to kind of the introduction of Tom Cruise's character, getting to know him a little bit, seeing him playing baseball and stuff like that, and all that kind of good stuff? And I'll start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a very typical, you know, sort of film opening, I guess. You know, like nothing really occurs all that much that I can remember that, you know, really, unless I'm missing something, that really is all that super poignant. I don't think right from jump. I could be wrong. Did they in the beginning? I can't remember. Did they display any of the actual alleged crimes in the military that occur right off the bat?
What do you mean? What crimes?
Do they roll right into the indiscrepan the illegal activities that occur?
Yeah, the movie starts right off with the death of Santiago.
Yeah.
Yes, that there you go. That's all I'm asking because I can't remember. That's all. So yeah, that's a good, I guess, a good way to kind of right off the bat introduce you to the I guess the main crux of what's going to end up being the main issue of the film, right? The main theme of the film that everything is going to kind of bounce off of, or kind of spiderweb off of in a way. So I mean, this is a very tight film. There's not really a lot of B plot type stuff. There's not a lot of going off the main theme in this film into other directions. They stick very close to home, and the opening, like a lot of really good films, does a good job of establishing the major issue of the film. Performs the scene in a way where you can at least kind of understand what's happening. You can kind of grasp what the deal is, even if you don't yet get the full ramifications, right, of what's going to happen later. You know what I mean? I think that not just there, but overall in the whole film, I think they do a very good job of pulling off a very authentic look for the military. How they look, how they act, how they talk. All of it, how they move, I feel like it feels very authentic, again, we don't see all of the major secondary characters, at the beginning of the movie, but it does go ahead and establish, a few of them, that's pretty much it, sir. Until if we're stopping before we get to Tom Cruise, then I don't really have much else to say.
I said up to being introduced to Tom Cruise.
Oh, I apologize, sir. My bad. Well, yeah, I mean, I like seeing Tom Cruise and all that. His introduction in the film is good. It's always good to see Tom Cruise for the first time in a movie, and I think that they do a good job in the opening of making his character very sort of interesting and a bit like a bit of a revolutionary in a way. That's not the best word to describe, but sort of a free spirit, right? For a naval officer, somebody who cares a lot about having fun, on top of his duties. You know what I mean? He's playing baseball and all that shit. So he gives off the impression that he's a pretty, chilled guy that parties, and all that. You know what I mean? And cuts loose and kind of, does his own thing.
All right, thank you. All right, going over to you, Mr. Will. Your thoughts, sir, on the beginning of the film leading up to the introduction of Mr. Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I thought it was very well handled, the way that Rob Reiner kind of got us into it. He set the stage really well for us to get introduced. And I mean, obviously the star of this film is Tom Cruise. Like, while Jack Nicholson's line is the iconic line that lived on forever, the star is Tom Cruise, and we all know that from watching it. One thing that I think is so interesting, like if you look at the 10 most highest grossing actors of all time, like how much money their movies have grossed. Oh, I'm skipping ahead.
He went.
I went there.
Frozen Man. Not Frozen Man.
What?
On my end, he's frozen.
Oh, am
Oh.
I freezing? Oh,
Nah.
can you guys not see me?
No, you're not freezing for me.
No, I
Oh.
think it's for. I think it's Cyber. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know what's happening.
No,
Hopefully
it's not your
it'll
fault.
keep
Yeah.
going. Oh, you'll get back
Probably
in.
on my
Okay.
side. Yeah.
What was I mentioning? Oh yeah, if you look at the top 10 highest grossing, like obviously when A Few Good Men come out, Tom Cruise already had a pretty successful career, you know, with Top Gun, really kind of put him on the map and he really started going. Of course, while all this was happening, I wasn't even born yet, so I wasn't really there to watch Tom Cruise's career take off. But if you look at the top 10 highest grossing actors whose movies have grossed the most money, the only one in the top 10 who's not in a Marvel movie is Tom Cruise. Everyone else has been in a Marvel movie except for Tom Cruise. And like this movie, I think when you watch it, it's not a surprise that Tom Cruise is in that list. And that's why I think Peter Reiner took his time to introduce him and introduced him in such a way that let us prepare for it. Because again, I mean, that's star power. That's the star power of Tom Cruise that he brings to the film. And I really loved, like, the part that really drew me in too is the part how he was like, he had no court experience because he just settles everything. He's always settling. And it, again, as a legal drama aficionado, they'll always tell you the best lawyers just settle. And so that's kind of your way of knowing that he was a really good lawyer without, but at the same time, seemed like he was inexperienced, but actually that's kind of the whole point. You want to settle, you don't want to go to court. So the best lawyers who get the best deals are the ones who are able to settle. So it was a very subtle way to make him really good at what he does, but inexperienced at the same time.
One question, Will.
Mhm.
There's a lot of actors out there, a lot of veteran actors, whatever, that have made a lot of movies that are very popular, made a lot of money in Hollywood, that have never worked for Marvel. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Are you sure about that list, dude? Because that doesn't sound logical. I mean,
Yeah.
the only way I can figure that out making sense is the fact that, you know, because of the the time period, you know, it being in the later years, the 2000s, and because of the popularity of Marvel, that Marvel was paying a lot of money for the movies, to their actors.
Mhm.
But other than RDJ, and Chris Evans and a couple other people, other Marvel actors did not make tons of money from Marvel. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't make exorbitant amounts, and they didn't make a lot of money outside of Marvel either, because a lot of them don't even have a repertoire with other films. So how could they possibly all be the highest paid actors ever?
Oh, yeah. Well, the list is not the highest paid actors. The list is the actors with the highest grossing movies. So which actors have been in the movies that have brought in the most money in the box office? And so since pretty much every Marvel actor was in Infinity War and Endgame, $2 billion hits, like right now, Scarlett Johansson, she just moved to the top with Jurassic World Rebirth. So it's not necessarily the highest paid actors. It's just the actors who have been in the top grossing movies.
I get it
made
now.
That a little more clear. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that about wraps up my thoughts on it. Like I said, Tom Cruise is a star, and this movie is the introduction really sets him up to take over this entire film, honestly.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Over to you, Toxic Avenger. What are your thoughts on the beginning of the film, sir?
Toxic Avenger, Toxic Lord, sir. Anyway, yeah, I mean, this beginning part is well done. I mean, you need a hook for this kind of movie, like the courtroom drama, because Will brought up before, the shows like Law and Order and JAG, the first in universe of the NCIS franchise, or Good Wife. Like, you always need a good case to get hook on the courtroom stuff, like recently, Cyber's pick of another courtroom drama, Primal Fear, had this good hook. Like, you start with the crime, so that, like, okay, why our characters are being brought into the case, so right after we saw the death of the Marine in the Marine base, we get to see first Demi Moore's character, why she was bringing in here, to investigate this, but also make a plea deal of these two soldiers, and then of course Adventure. Very funny. And then after that, we get Tom Cruise, and then you get like a very small detail about his character and what his art is going to be the whole movie. The fact that this is going to be his first major court case to deal with, because with the information we know that he's not like he's so good to make the plea deals so that it doesn't go into the court, and like which you do see in a couple times in the Law and Order stuff like that. Sometimes the lawyers wants to make a plea deal before taking this into court. So so that's what the job of Tom Cruise character is. So that's very fascinating, and we learn more about his character later on in the movie. Like his father, how that's important to his character. So like all this in like 20-40 minutes, you get so well into the movie, like knowing your characters right away, knowing the stakes and the crime that we're are probably in this case is so well done by Aaron Sorkin. He's such a great writer. He knows how to like get us hooked right in the beginning. Say like Social Network, like when we see that conversation between Jason Isaacs's character and his like girlfriend that's Rooney Mara, like you're already hooked on because what they're talking about, and then you follow that and it's like okay, you're already hooked. So that's one of the best things about this movie is just the dialogue is like top notch. So it's like it's not boring. It's like okay, I get what you understand like in a very normal way, but also you understand and they're like because naval and government like wording is so tough because they throw these really high words that you never heard of. So this movie does a really good job of handling that from the beginning. Like, okay, I understand this, and of course I've seen shows like NCIS and other stuff that, naval like base stuff. Like I know some of the like, procedures if you've seen those. But yeah, I really enjoy it. And of course I mean, as Will brought up before, I mean, Tom Cruise was always a top star. I mean, this guy, just knew how to bring in the audience. And, this is like right after, it's before The Firm came out. Like he was going to be involved with a lot of those like John Grisham stuff. And of course, before Mr. Possible became a franchise in 1996. So, he's always going to be that top actor. And not the 90s was his best like decade as an actor. I wish he took more risk as that.
He established himself as a leading man in like the mid '80s. It didn't take all the way up till '89 or '90, right before this film came out. He was already an established leading man in like '85.
Yeah, well, you had to thank Tom Gunn for that, and of course the sequel like put him on the top.
Not just Top Gun. Tom Cruise was pumping out 1 or 2 films like almost every year. It seems it seemed like in the '80s he made a film every year.
That's true. I mean, 1988, you had Cocktail and Rain Man the same year. So yeah, no, you're right. He's always everywhere. Andreas, shut up, just like Tux Adventure. But anyway, that's all I have to say for the beginning. I think it's top notch. Toxic Lord out. Toxic Lord, folks, out.
Thank you, Toxic Avenger, not Lord, Toxic Avenger. You are the inspiration for Peter Dinklage's new Toxic Avenger film. So just keep that in mind, folks. Anywho, great job, everyone. Good job. Anyways, I thought that there was a couple interesting things I found out about this movie before we move on with the story. But this is actually based, Aaron Sorkin got the idea of the film from an actual real life incident that happened in 1986 at Guantanamo Bay. Basically, similar thing where there was a code red, as they call it in the movie, where there was this Marine that was hazed. Thankfully, he actually didn't die, but he did get really injured bad and had to go to 6 different hospitals to basically get healed. But that is actually what this is based off of, which I thought was kind of interesting. But also something I found interesting was Jack Nicholson basically only shot 10 days worth of film. Like he was only there for 10 days and he was given $5 million for just those 10 days of work. So I thought that was pretty interesting for 1992 $5 million paycheck.
Cyber, does that really surprise you? Jack Nicholson was demanding basically as much money as he wanted on some of the films he was making back then, getting it.
Well, it is kind of surprising because even at that time, I would say more like if he was demanding $1 million to $2 million at the time, that was more of the higher average in 92. $5 million, that's like Robert Downey Jr. getting $75 million to be in Avengers Endgame, today's standards. So that $5 million in 1992 was like 75 to 100 million today. So that was really high for 1992. So
sure, $5 million is not 85 or 90 million dollars now, mathematically. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's not that much. And again, at that point, with Jack Nicholson, if I remember correctly, he was basically getting paid anything he asked for, and he was very selective about his roles. So at that point, if you really wanted him in a film, you'd pay $5 million.
Okay, good to know. I just thought it was an interesting fact. Anywho,
I do too, sir. I like to see people make money.
There you go, sir. Anyways, majority of the money that went towards A Few Good Men was for the A-list actors, because apparently Cruise earned $12.5 million for the film, and then Reiner made $4 million off of directing it. Even Sutherland, with his small part, made $1 million. So it was a really high ranking film for its time for people getting paid. Because if you were to go to look at like what Chris Hemsworth made on the first Thor film, which was only $1 million, he made $150,000. He made $150,000 for the first Thor film.
But to be fair, he wasn't established at all, was he, Cyber?
No, but at the same time, though, he was going to become something that they saw was going to be amazing. So I still think $150,000 on a $20 million film, which it made at that time, is a little small for the leading man, especially in 2011. I would think he would at least make $1 million or two at that time. Because, I mean, even Robert Downey Jr. made $500,000 on Iron Man 1. So, it's, even though Downey Jr. was well established before 2008, still he was a drug addict that was in and out of rehab all the time. And who knows if he could be relied on. So, I mean, it's just one of those things, that, I think it's, interesting that it was, that little for Thor, especially for Marvel at the time. But if you look at the salaries of all those early Marvel films, they're all very low because they were just starting out. So it's not that shocking, but at the same time, it's like, whoa, really? Only 150,000? That was, that was kind of interesting. But anywho, another interesting fact I found out about the film is Kevin Pollak, who plays the other lawyer that's with Tom Cruise's team. His mother was on set one day and was actually sitting behind Jack Nicholson and was hitting on him. And in the movie, you can actually see Kevin Pollak's expressions when his mother is doing this. It's absolutely freaking hilarious because I noticed some scenes where he had some interesting expression. I'm like, yeah, I can see that. So I thought that was kind of funny, interesting too. Okay. All right. So getting back to the film, another JAG attorney, Lieutenant Commander Joanne Galloway, Cappy's superior, suspects something is amiss. Santiago died after he broke the chain of command to ask to be transferred away. Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Markinson, advocate for Santiago to be transferred, but Base Commander Colonel Nathan Jessup orders Santiago's platoon commander, Lieutenant Jonathan Kendrick, to train Santiago on the basis that they are all at fault for Santiago's substandard performance. Gallo suspects that Dawson and Downey carried out a Code Red order, a violent extrajudicial punishment. Galloway is bothered by Cappy's blaze approach, and Cappy resents Galloway's interference. So we'll stop there because that's a great introduction to kind of, several different characters, J.T. Walsh, Julianne Moore, Demi Moore, and of course Jack Nicholson, and then of course we get to see the two suspects that are basically in being court-martialed, Dawson and Downey, which actually I thought that was kind of interesting. The character that played Dawson, that actor, this was his debut. This was his first movie. He was actually working as an intern type of deal, like mailrooming and assistant crap, for the company at the time. And Reiner saw him and thought that he had some acting ability, and thought he looked just what he wanted for Dawson, and he had him audition, and he ended up getting the part. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But anyways, what are your guys' thoughts on the introduction to these characters and the introduction to the word Code Red, and kind of, Demi Moore's thought process there and everything, and kind of your thoughts on her? And this time I'll start with you, Mr. Time Cop, Time Lord, Toxic Avenger.
Anyway, I need a new name. Anyway, that's so this video section was pretty interesting. Well, first off, I knew Kevin Bacon. Love Kevin Bacon, great actor. I think he's a great opposite against Tom Cruise, and I just love their rivalry as the opposite, and then the defense team. And so I mean, Kevin Bacon is such an underrated actor. I mean, he's done so much good work in cinema. I just love him. He's my favorite X-Men villain from First Class. Of course, he's big. Oh my God, I'm not the only one. And of course, Tremors is a great horror comedy movie. I mean, thriller, whatever you want to call it. It's such a great film. And Flatlines. Speaking of that, you got Keith Sutherland, another great actor. I was surprised to see another actor like that cover there. With Jack Nicholson. Crazy. It's great to see those actors. I want to give a shout out to this actor, which I do like, JT Welsh. Great actor. Very sad he's no longer with us. He's a really great actor. I see him in Hoffa, the 1992 version. And of course, his last performance was in Pleasantville, another great film. And he's awesome in, well, not awesome, but he's a jerk in Good Morning Vietnam. He's another terrific actor. Very sad what happened to his character towards the end. Seeing these top actors that during the 80s and the 90s being in this movie is crazy. And here you see the one of these is kind of cool, is seeing how Tom Cruise's character operates as a lawyer. Because every lawyer has their way of investigating, doing research. And so he does baseball because maybe it calms him down and think more clearly during the case, what he does and all that. You see that throughout the film, especially in his house. He always has the bat because it keeps him, focused and, and all that, or have an open mind of what's going on. And then you get Demi Moore, who's, this no nonsense, she's the no nonsense of this defense team. And she's trying her best to get these boys out of this, horrible crime that they're going to be charged. And dishonorable charge as well. And so she's trying to she's that side where she's helping the family to get their boys out. So all that is very intriguing. And then you get into the sophistication about Code Red. What's that about? And then of course the flight, the flight departure is and yeah, Jack Nicholson is a fantastic villain. I mean, come on, The Shining, the Joker in '89, you cast the perfect guy to be this this bulldog who he believes in the country and is doing his he thinks he's doing his best, but in reality he's doing a really aggressive way to train these soldiers to fight the war and all that. And I always thought when he starts to curse, it's so funny. He's but yeah. So this beginning part, I was still hooked, but it was so cool to see, my favorite actors interacting with the Aaron Sorkin dialogue. It's really cool. And then just seeing slowly, bits of the cases, and seeing Tom Cruise's character either or not take the plea. That's another thing to remember about this part here, is that before, because Kevin Bacon's character was already there. He's already gave him, okay, I can do 12 years or something like that to cut down Cruise wanted to do 2 years and they can get out 6 months, right? Something like that. So, and that started the chain of events. So, like, it's just like, wow, something is really up here. So yeah, overall great middle part here. The movie is it's very intense, very intrigued. I'm not like moving around, like I'm paying attention to what's going on, and that's always the best part about Eric Sorkin, because he just keeps you moving, because the characterization of these characters and what they're dealing with and all that. So that's my thoughts on the middle part of this movie.
All right, sir. Thank you. Going over to you, Jeff. Your thoughts, sir, on that section of the movie.
I'm sorry, I apologize, Cyber. Would you refresh me on what the end point roughly would be?
The end point is when Galloway suspects that Dawson and Downey carried out a Code Red order, which is a violent extrajudicial punishment. Galloway is bothered by Cappy's blaze approach, and Cappy resents Galloway's interference.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. I like to be on point, and know what's going on, just because unlike others on the panel, I don't like to talk way ahead in the film, on my take. So I'm just messing with you, Andres. I'm just kidding. Come on. So anyways, yeah, I mean, to bounce off of Andres, this sort of, I guess, second section of the film that we're talking about, or sort of, getting into kind of the third of the film, still kind of in the beginning. It's a slower, not as exciting or tension building start of, set of scenes of the film. Very much a laying things out sort of section, kind of just, establishing secondary characters, adding more detail to the original story, to the original theme, I think that this movie, obviously, as it's already been talked about in some way, has a great cast, has a great ensemble cast. They did a great job. They got a lot of really talented actors, either in their peak, or younger, not established, but kind of name, but kind of still low key names, that ended up, having a bigger name down the road in their career. Kevin Pollak, I don't know this for a fact, but I'd have to imagine that he probably got a lot of fucking career juice out of this film, because honestly, from my recollection, he'd been in other movies up until A Few Good Men, but he had never really had an impact role, like that, up until that point, where he was actually noticed for his acting, you know what I mean? It stood out, and after that, if I remember correctly, he became not like super in demand, but he became very in demand for a good chunk of time, as a secondary character in a lot of films, and did a great job with them too. Great actor. So, I think that they do a great job of showing you the Navy lifestyle, throughout the whole film, right? But in this section a lot too. They do a good job of not only entertaining you, but showing you, authentically, sort of. I don't know where they shot this, but I believe they actually were able to shoot some of this on Guantanamo Bay. Everything looks very authentic. When it comes to the drilling of the Navy soldiers, the buildings, the backgrounds, the layouts, it all looks very realistic, as a military base. And I feel like they make a the director and the actors make a really big effort, I think, in this movie to try to pay homage to representing in real life sort of how officers and things of that nature act in the Navy, right? How they carry themselves, how the rules work, you know what I mean? I think that we see Demi Moore by now at this point. And she has a very subtle, low-key role in this movie, which is for her actually, when you look at her career, is actually kind of weird for her. It's kind of a different character for her. To have a low-key secondary role kind of role in a film like that. When she was very much also in her peak. I think really makes the movie even better. Having that great of an actress in that sort of lower character in the film. She's great. I love seeing her in the movie. She's great in her introduction. She's established very, very well in terms of what sort of female officer she is, and what her relationship with Tom Cruise's character is. You know what I mean? And I think that they do a good job also, last thing I'll say in this section, of displaying the interactions, in the legal area of the Navy between, the different, officers, that, either represent, the Navy, right? Or are in the Tom Cruise's, spot where they're defending, somebody, you know what I mean? I like seeing them mix it up, the different sides, you know what I mean? And Kiefer Sutherland's character is really cool in the movie. I really like him. It's a little bit of time he gets, and again, as the movie, continues to progress like it does in this section, it does a really good job of staying dedicated to, the core themes of the film, while also, filling out the story and the world that we're living in.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And just about the filming locations, the Guantanamo Bay scenes were actually filmed in an actual airport base near Los Angeles. They did not film actually at Guantanamo Bay, unfortunately.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense because honestly, it would seem to be almost impossible to ever get the government to allow anybody to have access to Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah. So, and then the rest of it, which was majority indoor scenes, were shot at the Columbia Soundstage in Hollywood as well. So, majority of it was sound stages and an actual airport base in LA. So, it was pretty much all LA that they filmed this in. So, just to kind of give you that. Also, an interesting little tidbit for you guys, too, is that Demi Moore was not the first choice to play Joanne. They actually were... also, who was in the running was Jodie Foster and Linda Hamilton. Were both in contentions for her, and Demi Moore actually ended up taking it because she was actually pregnant at the time. Hence, why she had not so few scenes throughout the film is because she knew that because there were so few scenes for her that she could hide her pregnancy while she was pregnant while filming the film. So she actually was pregnant with one of Bruce Willis's kids at the time. So. Hence why it ended up turning out she ended up getting the role because she thought that was a great opportunity to still work and yet, deal with her pregnancy.
If you don't mind me jumping off that makes a lot of sense to me completely that they would want Jodie Foster as their first choice because Jodie Foster would have been perfect for that role. You know what I'm saying? It's her kind of film. But I mean, what's her name from a Terminator? Linda Hamilton. I'm sorry, but could you honestly imagine her playing that character? Or that role in the movie?
Yeah, I can see that. I don't have a problem with that because she could display the strongness. She can feel more I feel like she feels more military than more.
Linda Hamilton is not a very well-rounded actor with a lot of acting ability and a lot of range like that. You know what I'm saying?
But here's the thing, just like Arnold, like if you have a good director that knows how to like work around the actor, then they can get a good performance. So
Sir, there's a reason why she's never been cast in any other film other than the Terminator that were ever, successful, where she was playing a role other than the Terminator roles. There's a reason for that.
there's other roles she's in, but we will not get into that.
Okay, sir.
Just saying.
Excellent. All right. Going over to you, Will. Your thoughts, sir, on this section.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, anything that hasn't already been said. Obviously, this was a great way to continue to introduce us to the central conflict and what we're going to be dealing with throughout this movie. The one thing I'll highlight is the introduction of Demi Moore's character, which is kind of what we're talking about here. I love the way that they portrayed her intelligence and her conflict, her constantly rubbing up against Tom Cruise's laissez-faire style. It doesn't come off as naggy, which, could be a huge, especially for, it could be tough for a male director to not kind of fall into that nagging wife stereotype. It's just tough. I mean, if you're a guy, it's something that you may not understand quite as well. So I think Rob Reiner did a great job of keeping Demi Moore's character from becoming another nagging character, right? Like that's something that we have seen before. It's kind of a stereotype, but he was able to portray her as very strong, very intelligent, and there was good reason why she was pushing back on the way that Tom Cruise's character did things, because again, she had a very structured way of doing it, but it made her seem very smart and very strong. And I appreciate that. And I didn't know that she was pregnant throughout this movie. I knew that she wasn't the first choice because they were going through some other actresses, but I had no idea that she was pregnant during it, which is just even more of a testament to the incredible performance that Demi Moore put on. And then as far as the other actors, only thing I'll say to kind of close out my point, there's a saying that a rising tide lifts all boats. To me, this movie is the textbook example of that. Because while Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson obviously give standout performances, I would argue that every single actor's performance in this movie was at least on par with what they gave. Because if you didn't bring yourself to the level that Tom Cruise or Jack Nicholson were, you were going to stand out because the movie was full of such strong performances. You would have brought the whole movie down if your performance wasn't as strong. So, because a lot of these actors I've seen before, Keith Sutherland, Designated Survivor, Kevin Bacon, obviously, Cuba Gooding Jr., and the to me the intense performances of Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, how good they are. Everyone else kind of elevated their game to match them, and that's when you end up with a masterpiece like this.
Excellent, thank you, sir. All right. Excellent job, everyone. Good job. Those were some interesting little tidbits, that everyone gave, and also I think the little tidbits I thought that I found here I thought were kind of interesting as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is one of those films too that when you have a dynamic cast as you do as we have in this film, there could be several other actors or actresses that could have been these characters, and I thinking about like if it had been Jodie Foster versus Demi Moore, definitely I agree. I think that definitely is up her wheelhouse. Seeing Linda Hamilton in the running, that was kind of interesting. I have seen her in other films besides the Terminators, and she is definitely could be a little different in her roles and stuff like that. Do I see her as a legal representation? I don't think she'd be as good as that as she would be in the Terminator. But at the same time, I think that it's always funny to see like who was the first choice or who was the, if they were the first choice and stuff like that. It's always interesting, I always find. But I think that this was so well casted that you had such a phenomenal cast that just all brought this film to such a great peak. I mean, yeah, as several mentioned about Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon is a fantastic actor. I mean, from, one of his first roles, of course, in Friday the 13th, to being in Tremors, to, being in several things over the years. He's one of those great actors that always portrays, I think, dramatic roles he has. he was absolutely fantastic as his character of Ross. I mean, just a couple years later, he would be in a great Christian Slater movie with that he plays in it called Murder in the First, where he portrays a real life character that was in Alcatraz that got beat by the guards and basically ended up killing one of the guards after one of the final beatings he got, and he was on trial for that. And basically, he portrays this person, and he was absolutely phenomenal as that character. If you have not seen Murder the First, watch it. It's such a great film. But it just, so many great actors were in this film. Kiefer Sutherland, Jack Nicholson. Tom Cruise has had several great films over the years and so forth. And everyone in this was just such a great actor. And so when you have such star power, it's hard to sometimes I feel go like, is there a moment in this film that there's really any bad things going on, like downtime or anything like that, filler going on? And as Jeff had mentioned earlier, there really isn't. It's very straightforward, to the point, gets to it. And I think that's really great. And one thing great about this movie is that it does that it does flow so well. And I just have to give the film credit for doing such a great job there. And just being so flowing. Great editing by whoever edited this film. They did a really great job. All right. So getting back to the story. So Kathy and Galloway question Jessup and others at Guantanamo Bay are met with contempt from the colonel. Kathy negotiates a plea bargain with the prosecutor, U.S. Marine Judge Advocate Captain Jack Ross, a.k.a. Kevin Bacon, for involuntary manslaughter with a sentence of 2 years, but serving only 6 months, avoiding a possible lifetime sentence if found guilty at trial. Dawson and Downey refused the plea bargain, insisting that Kendrick gave them the code red order. They never intended to kill Santiago, and a plea bargain would be dishonorable. Initially intended to get removed as counsel at the arraignment, Cappy unexpectedly pleads not guilty for the defendants. Realizing that he was chosen to handle the case to accept a plea to keep the matter quiet, he decides to put up a defense. Markinson meets Cappy in secret and says that Jessup never ordered a transfer for Santiago. The offense establishes that Dawson had received a negative performance review from Kendrick and had been denied promotion for smuggling food to a Marine who had been restricted to water and vitamins. Dawson had been punished for disobeying an illegal order, and defense through Downey proves the illegal code red has been ordered before. So we'll stop there. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on that section. We get some more JT Walsh here. We get Kevin Bacon. We get the actual court scenes going and all this kind of good stuff. We get our, full introduction to Jack Nicholson's character and all that kind of stuff. So what are your guys' thoughts on this section leading up to that end point, where they prove that illegal code reds have been ordered before? And I'll start with you, Will.
This is probably one of my favorite moments in the film, because I love that this is the part where Tom Cruise's character, cocky is really not the right word. I feel like he's somewhere in between confident and cocky. Maybe just overconfident is the best word for him. And very, very like, my skill, I'm so good. Gets to this point where he realizes the only reason why he was selected is because he does a lot of settling out of court. He's known for that. And so they don't actually want him for his skill. Like, for his skill as a lawyer, they just want him to sell it because they think that's just kind of what he always does. And so I think that's interesting, like the way that he takes it. And I think because it's a blow to his ego a little bit is why he ends up fighting so hard, as we will continue to see throughout the movie. But this subtle change that I saw that kind of gave his character more skin in the game, I thought was very interesting, and this is one of my favorite parts of the movie.
All right. Thank you, Will. Good job, sir. Very, very quick and to the point, sir. All right. On to you, Toxic Avenger. What are your thoughts?
Okay. So I agree with Will here. This part is really great. I mean, when you do court dramas, sometimes you can make it very campy, and sometimes you can make it too serious, and then that's where you'll be kind of bored, or like you don't get the excitement you sort of get. This is well done. well executed, well paced. You know, I agree, Cyber, that the editing is really great. I totally get why it was nominated for film editing, because you know this movie does such a good job of just getting to the point. And yeah, seeing this is where JT Will's character commits suicide in this part. In this part, because like that part really shocked me. Like he was, I mean, I get you. You like, I feel so bad for him. Like I was happy that he did confirm the, you know, the red, the what do you call it? The code red was authorized by Jack Nicholson character, and like they were ordered to, you know, take the kid down, but not killing him. But also, you know, he felt really bad that he let this one Marine die, and so for him to like take his own life made a lot of sense. Very tragically, because it really affected Tom Cruise character, and I mean, the fact he drank himself to get back to his house is kind of really sad to see. And then you see these characters trying to defend these boys. My favorite scene, I don't have it brought up yet, was the doctor they brought in. Was it the medical examiner that did the report? He was really great. Like he was just getting pushed by Tom
Christopher
Cruise.
Guest.
That was Christopher Guest? Okay. I was like, I was wondering where's Chris, because I seen some of his films, and I was like, where is Christopher Guest? And he was so good in that one scene. Like he was like just like getting, you know, bombarded by questions by Tom Cruise, you know, his like expertise, and you know, like his, you know, like his examination of the toxin, and like, you know, his allergy, whatever, like his condition that like he was really frail to, you know, like that was a really great scene. I really thought that. And then here, you know, you saw briefly Cuba Jr. I didn't know he was in here. That's crazy. You know, he's, I mean, great actor during the 90s. If you've seen his films like Jerry Maguire or The Man of Honor, another, you know, Marine film / courtroom as well. Yeah, this whole section is really good, well paced, and just got to the point. You know, this is where, you know, Tom Cruise's character is like over his league a little bit, you know, trying his best to save the boys. And man, God, the boys is so crazy. Come on, like take the plea deal. You know, you're not, you know, being dishonorable by your dean. We're just following orders. So I just don't get that. That was the one part that frustrated me the most. It was those two guys. But anyway, but yeah, that's all I have to say. I think it's a really good section of the movie. Really great lines for the characters and all that, and of course you're seeing slowly Tom Cruise character like getting the challenge, because like he's this guy that was like so like he was so good at doing his job, getting everything done, bam, bam, bam. But here he's trying, like he's been put into the most challenge like task ever, right? And like to see him trying to like, you know, work around with this core and all that. Oh, my favorite line when he's we already like passed it, but like I was like when you say, "Oh, this is what a cart room is," you know. I thought that there's funny gags here and there. That was funny when we get there. But yeah, I love the section. It's pretty great. I'm very sad that JT Welsh character took his life, because that was really sad.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but JT Walsh always tended to play characters that died in any movie I ever saw him in throughout the 90s. And then when he passed away in 99, it was kind of like, oh, maybe he knew his time was coming or something. I don't know, because he dies in Executive Decision. He dies in this. He dies in Breakdown. I mean, pretty much any role he ever plays, he usually dies. So he kind of played one of those always the dying guys, kind of like how Danny Trejo and Sean Bean have become synonymous with how many times they've got killed in movies and like that. JT Walsh is up there with them. But yeah, good points there, Mr. Time Cop. Good job. All right. Excellent job, everyone. Great job. Great job. Mr. Jeff, are you doing okay over there, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, sir. Why?
Just how you're hunched over looking at the camera, sir, again.
Am I hunching again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, sir. I have not been sleeping really well lately, to be honest with you. I don't want to get too far off course here, and not take away from the conversation on the movie. But yes, sir, I told you I have not been sleeping well, and I didn't get very much sleep last night at all. For some reason, I guess I'm just when I get really tired, I get all kind of like shrunk up.
Interesting.
It's weird, you know what I mean? But you know how it is when you don't sleep. I'm sore, I feel really sore and beat up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that and I sometimes I also focus on the screen really really intently too. So that happens too.
Mm.
Yep.
My bifocals are getting old, sir. So my vision up close is not as good as you'd hope.
Gotcha too.
Anyway, sir, I'm good. I know where we're at. I will gladly contribute, sir. So most definitely, sir. I don't want to again, you say any of the same stuff that the other two guys already said or anything like that. But I will say that again, I think that I would have no way of trying to have a real expert sort of opinion on it. And I have no experience in the military or the Navy or whatever, when it comes to Navy trials and things like that or whatever, that stuff's all hush hush. It's totally private, you don't find out what happens in those trials, they're not, that stuff's not publicly, disclosed or anything like that, really, and I doubt that they even videotape them, probably. Or at least back then they didn't, maybe now, you know what I mean? So unless you were there or worked in the Navy at some point in real life, it's hard to know what it's really like to be in that kind of courtroom with those kind of rules. But I want to believe that what they display or depict in A Few Good Men is probably very accurate. I feel like they made a lot of effort to pay attention to detail. So I mean, I imagine that what they show there is probably very similar, to how those trials operate in real life, right? You know how Tom Cruise is, right? How he's so dedicated, about his work and such a hard worker, not afraid to put the time in with the research and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I imagine he probably put a lot of effort and time into preparing to portray a naval officer in court. I would assume, right, Cyber, that on a film like this, with this big of a movie, that they probably hired military experts to come in, right, and train and work with the actors.
More than likely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they do that for movies like this, yeah.
Yeah, they all do, don't they? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting trivia. The government did not get involved with this movie, apparently, because of whatever they were doing was like a bad sign of government. Because that's always the thing people don't know. Sometimes the government will get involved with movies.
Yes.
But if you're making a bad light on them, they're not going to get involved. And apparently, this was one of the movies they didn't get involved because
that's not the Cyber. Audrey, that is a excellent point, sir, and very true. But one thing that you didn't say or mention correctly is that it's not just that if there's something that makes the military bad, they won't help. If it's just a war movie or a military movie, that does nothing, in their eyes, right?
Yes, yeah.
That isn't worth it for their involvement. You know what I mean? Then they're not going to get involved. But they have gotten heavily involved in some films like Black Hawk Down. You know what I'm saying? And really been involved. You know what I mean? And offered and supplied massive amounts of equipment and military vehicles and planes and stuff like that.
Yeah. No. You're right.
I think it really boils down to how important it is to them that the movie is done well and is authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and make and also like made the government look good. You know. Like,
Oh yeah, make them look better. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, for recruitment purposes and all that. Yeah, of course, you're right. Yeah, that's always there. They're thinking about that, for sure. Public image is really important. I will say that Cyber made a great point about Kevin Bacon's role in the film. It's very small, but he's very effective in what he gets, I really enjoy him in the film. His character in the movie is very interesting, multi-layered. I dug him. He's kind of a bad guy kind of character in the film, and that's different for Kevin Bacon. You don't see a lot of Kevin Bacon villain roles, especially then.
Unless you like X-Men First Class.
Yeah, but back in the day, back in like in the 90s and in the 80s, Kevin Bacon always played good guys.
It's true.
He was always the hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was. But well, I don't know. There was this one movie I saw that he was a bad guy.
Kevin Bacon didn't start playing psychos and villains and evil people and shit like that until he got older, like way older.
No. I will prove you. 1994, River Wild, starring Meryl Streep. He was a villain there.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah, and there's another movie you don't know. It's another legal courtroom called The Sleepers. That's with Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, and Brad Pitt. He's a villain there briefly, but he dies quickly in that film. And I don't, And then Wild Things. That's another movie he's in that, I don't want to reveal the twist, but yeah, he's been late 90s. He starts to become more like playing villains. But that's
I never watched Sleepers honestly because even back then when I was a kid, I thought it looked boring. To be honest with you, when I heard about what it was about, and who was in it, I was like, nah,
Yeah.
So, anyway, sir. But look, at the end of the day, you can always just go ask Cyber, Mr. Movie Man, you know what I'm saying, and he will settle any disputes we have here on the panel about these issues. So, just go to Cyber, sir. And he's moderating. So, anyways, I will cut myself off here shortly. I don't want to go too 60-minute man here on this one. But in general, this is a good section of the film. The pace keeps up. The tension starts to build up more. By now, you know what I mean. They work the tension in more. The stakes start getting higher. You know what I mean, right? The conspiracy aspects of the whole story start to get more, flushed out, right? Then you have the suicide, and that adds like another whole, aspect or, to the film, right? Is an important, act, definitely a good section of the film. The evolution of Tom Cruise as his character from the start of the film to the end of the film, that's the little bit of evolution, that you see with him, with his character is really interesting to watch, it starts to really occur now, right? In the true middle of the film, is when you really start to see him start to, open his eyes a little bit, I really can't think of anything else that I didn't already say. Other than probably then, I think that they definitely make the military look pretty bad in some aspects of this film. They do, but I think it's very realistic and very believable, and it's happened factually multiple times throughout military history. That we have had things happen similar to this of different types, with corruption and illegality. You know what I'm saying? To high levels. You know what I'm saying? So these things do happen in real life, right? And there are not. I don't think really now in 2025, but way back in the day, in the 80s, 70s, 90s, whatever. I believe they probably did have high-ranking officials and whatnot that were like Jack Nicholson's character. They just did whatever they wanted, broke the rules, whatever. So that's all I got, sir. I will throw over to you, Cyber.
Okie dokie. Thank you, sir. Very eloquent, sir. Very eloquent. Yeah, great job, everyone. Good job on that part. Yeah, I mean, this is a great section. I agree. This is when we really get into the courtroom drama portion, and that's one of my favorite things about this movie is the whole courtroom sequences. Those were my all-time favorite portions. That's why I love 12 Angry Men. That's why I like movies like Primal Fear. I love movies that are court-based because I just find them very intriguing and very interesting and fun. And that's one thing I absolutely love about this movie. And so this is the section we really get into that. We get to see them like just trying the case and talking to different witnesses. We get the Christopher Guest sequence and all that kind of stuff. And just really fun. I mean, even Cuba Gooding Jr.'s small little part, I think is really fantastic and really fun to see. And at this time, Cuba Gooding Jr. was like kind of, making a name for himself still. So I think that we had a lot of fun with all the different little, cameos and people that were involved in these courtroom scenes. So really great job, guys. All right. So pretty much finishing this off. However, under cross-examination, Downey admits he was not present when Dawson received the supposed Code Red order. Ashamed that he failed to protect the Marine under his command and unwilling to testify against Jessup, his longtime friend Markinson commits suicide before he could testify. Without Markinson's testimony, Cappy believes the case is lost. He returns home in a drunken stupor, lamenting that he fought the case, risking long sentences for Dawson and Downey instead of accepting a lenient deal. Galloway encourages Cappy to call Jessup as a witness, despite risking court-martial for challenging a high-ranking officer without evidence. At the Washington Navy Yard Court, Jessup spars with Cappy's questioning, but is unnerved when Cappy springs trap points out a contradiction in his testimony that Guantanamo Marines would never disobey an order to not touch Santiago. Yet he orders Santiago off the base, fearing for Santiago's safety. Cappy also questions Jessup's claim that Santiago was to be put on the first flight home. Upon further questioning and frustrated by Cappy's attitude, Jessup extols the military's and his own importance to national security, exclaiming, "You can't handle the truth," challenging Jessup's indignation. Cappy pointedly asks if Jessup ordered the code red, to which Jessup bellows, "You're goddamn right I did." Jessup tries leaving the courtroom, but is arrested and almost assaults Cappy in the process. Dawson and Downey are cleared of the murder and conspiracy charges, but found guilty of conduct unbecoming and will be dishonorably discharged. Nettie does not understand what they did wrong. Dawson says that they failed to defend those too weak to fight for themselves. Cappy tells Dawson that it is not necessary to wear a patch on one's arm to have honor. Dawson acknowledges Cappy as an officer by rendering a salute. Cappy and Ross exchange pleasantries before Ross departs to arrest Kendrick. And that is the end. So, what are your guys' thoughts on that dynamic conclusion of the film? And just all other thoughts you might have had during this portion of the film. And I'll start with you, Jeff, this time.
Most definitely, sir. I think that we slammed right through this movie. Obviously it's a classically, well known, good ending, right? Probably one of the most powerful courtroom trial type ending films endings probably all time, one of the top 20 or whatever, top 10 best. I think you're right, Cyber. I think that how they perform and shoot you know, and pull off, you know, the authenticity with those you know, those trial scenes, you know, those court scenes throughout the film. They add they're a really good element to the film that work well for the movie. You know, I mean, we've seen it in the past, Cyber and Andres. You know, on other stuff we've covered, where remember Daredevil, you know, Daredevil Born Again, you know, I mean, you know, or She-Hulk, you know, it's one thing to have trials, you know, stuff and have court scenes and stuff like that in a show or a movie, you know what I'm saying, and have that going on. But if you don't do it right, you know, if it's not done well, you know what I mean? It doesn't add to your project. It doesn't add to the film, you know? If anything, it kind of takes away from it. You know what I'm saying? You know, there's nothing worse than boring, you know, not well done, you know, trial scenes, you know? So, you know, I think that Tom Cruise, you know, should get a lot of credit, because I think that he probably did an exceptional job in those courtroom scenes, you know, in his role. I thought he really put it all out there. And the way the story goes, and then the way the story evolves, you know, over time, and then flushes its way out towards the end, you know, as we wrap the movie up, is suspenseful, you know, at a lot of different times, you know, but in a like in a legal drama sense, you know, suspense. You know what I mean? And having the military set in the military, you know, having the movie set in the military, you know, and you know, completely contained within a base, right? You know, as far as everywhere they go is like on you know, on the base, really, right? You know, is great. You know, it works well for the film. It's a good thing. And I think that there's a lot of really exceptional performances in the film across the board. I think that the director got the best out of all of his actors and actresses in this film. And I think they probably all elevated themselves, you know. But I think that it just shows you, you know, the impact of Jack Nicholson, you know, in his prime, you know, after his prime, you know, just his talent level and his star power and his value on screen, you know, and the level of respect and fame, you know, that he developed at this point in his career, you know, to be able to, you know, get paid that much money, you know, and be in a movie like that, you know, and only be on screen for like whatever Cyber said, you know, 10 minutes or whatever, you know, he shot all the scenes in one day or whatever, you know. That just shows a lot of respect for motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, for real, bro. You know, like, you know, for their talent, you know. So my point was just that I think it's very interesting, you know, that Nicholson still got nominated for some low-level awards. You know, he didn't win anything, but he got nominated for, you know, for 2 or 3 awards from, you know, for some lower-level, you know, award ceremonies for his performance in the movie. You know, so that's impressive. And I think that the movie does a really great job of something I'm always happy to see, which is wrapping up the storylines of all the characters, all the main and secondary characters, you know, throughout the film in a very well done way. You know, maybe not perfect, you know, but everybody, you know, ends up, you know, in a good, in an interesting or good way, you know. You see, you know, some people grow, you know, or change, you know what I mean, or get better, you know. But it's nice to see that, you know. I felt like the movie does a great job of organizing its talent on screen, and then making really good decisions in terms of, eliminating characters, out of the film, here and there, at the right time, and also, maintaining throughout the film sort of, a clear, a clear sharing of screen time, with the different characters that really allows you to, maintain, and stay, knowing who the main characters really are, and see a lot more of their story. So, yeah, man, it's a great film. The whole story is very intelligent. It's very highbrow. The movie's very well written. It has really, really, really easily flowing dialogue. And I think that no one's mentioned it at all yet, but the low-key sexual tension that Demi Moore's character and Tom Cruise's character, is there from jump, but then builds up very, very slowly in the film, even though it doesn't go anywhere, is a nice touch and a nice addition to the movie, and it's well done. It's well played. And I thought it was great that they didn't actually have sex, It's nice to see a film actually like not have that, not have the, the love interest people have, actually go all the way, for once. So, yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, I guess other than, I think that Jack, I guess the last thing I probably would just say is just that I think that it's very impressive about, with Jack Nicholson, that he was able to come in and shoot his scenes with other actors, especially Tom Cruise, with all the back and forth that they have in those scenes and how important they are, that he can pull all that off in one day of shooting or whatever, Cyber, is that what you said? One day?
Wasn't it?
I said 10 days, over a stretch
10
of 10
days.
days.
Okay. I'm sorry. My bad. It's a big difference. Oh, either way, 10 days, right? 10 days. That's a really, 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 really important scene, set of scenes there at the end, right? Those trial scenes. So it doesn't shock me they would put a lot of time into it, right? No, just the fact that they can come in, and put his 10 days in, and then leave, go do his own thing, get paid, a lot of money. And, and at the end of the day, I guarantee you that nobody complained. None of the other cast complained at the end of the movie, and bitched or anything about the fact that Jack Nicholson came in, and only worked for 10 days, or whatever, right? Or I guarantee you there were no complaints, because Jack Nicholson had that vibe and that, personality, whatever, and that gravitas where people would tolerate it. And I just think that it's really impressive and just really interesting to me, I guess, personally, as a fan of movies, and of actors, that he's so talented that he can walk into a production like that, be it part of it for such a short part of part of the time, and still be so effective, and top notch.
You're muted, sir. You also got muted.
You know what? That's my fucking weird setup I have, where my cord is like right on my leg. You know what I mean? So if I jerk my leg, my cord, gets inside. No, that's okay. I need to shut up anyway. My only point, just that I think it's very rare in the history of current, of the last 50 years of movies. I don't know about the golden age of films or back in the day. They did a lot of different stuff, with their actors. But I can't really think of a lot of actors or actresses that, like Jack Nicholson, that can come in and do stuff like that in movies. It's just very rare.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Going over to you, pop culture guy. What are your thoughts on the last portion of the film?
Oh, fantastic. Well, so I can't handle the truth. When I was getting to this part, I was like, when is that famous line going to be in the film? Like, it was like halfway through, and I was like, oh, okay, it's probably towards the end of the movie, right? And it is. And so when that moment happened, I was like, well, first of all, the build up, like I always love this in every courtroom, especially Law and Order. Like they always like ramp up the intensity with the person that's like up right now. And of course, Tom Cruise just like repping out Jack Nicholson. It's just like so crazy. Just like, okay, tell me this, and and he gets getting blush, getting sweaty, and it's like, oh my god, why he's asking me so many of these questions? And then he slips and he tells the whole truth that I did the code red. I did it because that boy didn't know how to be a man, and I'm trying to help this kid to fight for this country that he loves so much, and all that, and so, oh my god, that scene was just crazy. And then you get the funny Jack Nicholson thing of like when he oh my god, when he hears that he's gonna be arrested, he's like, "You son of a bitch, I want to kill you," like he like almost attacked him. I'm like, what? He's almost like, oh my god, he was gonna kill that. He's gonna kill Tom Cruise. I was like, oh my god, Jack Torrance killing Ethan Hunt. That'd be a great film. And of course, love the line you say like, "Excuse me, I'm a lawyer. I'm this," and then you had to call me this, sir, and you're son of a bitch. And so I was like, yeah, go ahead, Ethan Hunt, you beat the Joker. Yeah, it's like such a, and the music during that time is like, oh my god, so uplifting. It's like, oh my god, classic '90s stuff. Yeah, when he got to when they were going over the case before they got Jack Nixon in the stand, right? He was trying to find his bat. And then I love how that was like the light bulb. It's like, oh, because he was looking at the dress and the clothes he had up in the closet that the bat was at. That like triggered his like, okay, let me do this, the logs and stuff like that. All that was so fantastic. I agree with Jeff. Like, I totally, just like this is my first viewing. But in multiple, it's crazy that Demi Moore's character and Tom Cruise didn't get together, because that's usually a typical thing you see in these '90s movies. Like Dante's Peak, you get that with Pierce Brosnan's and Liam Houghton's characters, or all the '90s. Like you see in the '90s movies, these action or dramas, like everyone gets together, right? Like even Prime Video, like I don't know. Rachel Gere's character has like this fling with this other lawyer, stuff like that. So, but I was surprised they didn't get together. But then at the same time, it's like they're in the military. I don't know if you're allowed to get together during that time. I don't know. Just different time, and a different way we handled that. But anyway, this ending was fantastic. It totally delivered what I was expecting from this movie. They delivered the iconic line, right? And of course, I felt really bad with the boys. Like, like the other guy didn't understand like what we did wrong. And then I like how the other friend, spoke up. It's like, well, yeah, we didn't do nothing, but we didn't help out this one soldier, to survive. Like it's technically like he kind of took it right away and understood that, we were still, in culpable of the crime, but not in a bad way like Jack Nicholson's character did. But I really like that touch, the Tom Cruise character telling him that the badge, is not the only thing to be honored with. So that's a good line, and that it is true. I don't think these degrees, all that for me, like awards is like it should be honored. It's like hard work should be the thing you should be more proud of. And I really like that towards the end the guy salutes him and that was a really good touch. But yeah, great finale. It just ramped up in the right way. The pacing was good. I was so in my seat, like hoping that that at least you'll get lenient sentence or like no, like or not guilty for like the murders and all that. So I was happy about that. So and I get this honorable charge. So yeah, really great ending. This movie is so perfect. One of the best court films I've seen in a while, I gotta say. And I think that Aaron Sorkin and Rob Reiner did a really great job making this film perfect, and that's a really high recommend for me.
Thank you, sir. All right, going over to you, Mr. Will. Your thoughts are on the conclusion of the film.
I mean, it's hard to say what hasn't already been said. Again, we all agree it's a great film. We all agree it's a cultural landmark and phenomenon. And like I said, just reiterating, the performances really lifted everybody up. I think each actor truly gave their all. Like even actors like Noah Weil, who I think is up for an Emmy right now for his medical show, if I'm not mistaken.
He could be. He very well could be. That's a popular show.
Okay. Yeah. And he was in Leverage Redemption. So, it's really cool for me I like the fact that I saw this movie at a time where like all these actors, I had already known them. So then I could go back and see like, oh, wow, this is one of his first performances. Or like, Kiefer Sutherland was so good in Designated Survivor. Oh, that's because he spent time, this film is probably why he ended up being so good in that other one, because you really got I feel like everyone just put on a master class of acting. And the plot wrapped up nicely. Obviously, we have the iconic line by Jack Nicholson that will forever live on. It's just one of those movies that you could definitely watch again, even if you already know what happens. And I think there's very few movies that capture the raw emotion the way this movie does. So, and that's why it's not only one of the greatest legal dramas of all time, but one of the greatest films of all time.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. So going around the panel, what will we give the film 1 out of 10? Start with you, Time Cop.
This is going to be a 10 out of 10. I mean, nothing flawed, no nitpick. It was a joy. One of the rare movies that I'm like I don't like this. There's no this bizarre nothing like that. Like this bizarre direction that this movie did. Nothing like that. I'm so surprised. And 90s really had that. There was this weird moments where okay, we're going this way. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? This movie did not. It was straight. This movie is straightforward. Nothing you understand what's going on. It's focused, which I like. Great actors I love. They're in this one movie with a great writer who knows how to write dialogue, which is great. And you got a great director that has directed one of the classic films that I grew up watching, So it's all top-notch filmmaking. And that's all I ask for, a great film with top-notch filmmaking and writing. And this movie totally delivers that. I highly recommend it. 10 out of 10.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Will, what would you give it 1 out of 10, sir?
So I don't like giving out 10 out of 10s, right? Because I'm like, no movie out there is perfect. That's such a high bar to establish here. But I'm like,
sir, come on, sir. Every once in a while, a movie deserves a 10.
Well, that's the thing. I'm sitting back and I'm like, okay, let me find one flaw in this movie so it can be a 9. I can't.
Okay, sir.
I can't. I can go back through it and I can't find a single moment that didn't work, that didn't hit, that didn't. I can't. So I'm forced to give it a 10 out of 10. And I know I said I wasn't familiar with Rob Reiner, but I have seen The Princess Bride, obviously, growing up. And I did not expect this from the director of The Princess Bride. If you had told me that those two people directed this, A Few Good Men was directed by the same guy that directed The Princess Bride, I would have been like, you're joking, right? You got to be kidding. But we are not, and that's just the range of the director. So I have to give it a 10 out of 10, and that's because I cannot find a flaw in this film.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Jeff, what would you give it?
Well, good points. Good points by Will. I want to bounce off of him really quick. If I can remember what the hell he said, I think I had a massive brain fart right there as I was speaking. So like I might have lost what he said, but oh no, I think he was talking about fuck. I hate when that happens. Whatever. Oh, you're right, Will. I didn't think about it until you mentioned it, but this film doesn't have any flaws. If you go down the high end quality movie checklist, right, of all things you got to have in those movies, they're all marked down in this movie. They all of them. You know what I mean? This movie is so contained and so straightforward with its story and theme. You know what I mean? And themes. There aren't a lot of reasons to have flaws or to make mistakes with it. I'm having a very hard time giving it a 10 as well. And I think I'm going to give it a 9.75. So that's as close to a 10 as I can get, since I don't believe in doing stuff like that one guy did last week or whatever, Cyber, where he rated the movie like, 8.73 or whatever, 8.73. He was using decimals and stuff in his rating. I'm not going to do that, sir. I'm not going that far. So I'm going to go 9.75, on its way to a 10, but a really good movie, never stops being good. It will always be a watchable film for anybody, I think, if they ever sit down and watch it. The description of the film on the DVD case, right? Or if you saw a description of the film, before watching it, especially if you were a younger person, you might be like, this looks boring, like this looks dumb. I'm not going to watch this. You know what I mean? But once you get into it, start watching it, it's a really good movie, and honestly, it makes you wonder, like, a movie this big, I don't know the budget, but I'm sure it was not cheap to make, but a movie this big with this with an ensemble cast, and all these big name actors in the movie, it
was 33 to 41 million to make.
Okay, so 33 to 40 million to make in 1992. That's a pretty substantial amount of money. It's not a lot, but it's a substantial amount for then. And it seems realistic for that movie too. But I'm just surprised that they even hired Reiner for that project, just because based off his other two films, I forget what the second one was, but The Princess Bride, I don't see what they saw from him off those films and his acting that made them think they should hire him for a film like this. It's just interesting to me. You know what I'm saying? To know those things, Cyber. It's like you said earlier, right? How much fun it is and how interesting it is to hear about all the actors and actresses for these films that were originally cast for the characters, but that never actually, were in the movies, right? I love hearing about that stuff too. So yeah, it's a great film. Obviously one of the top films of 1992, right? And probably maybe a little bit underrated, just a little bit underrated, possibly, potentially, just because it's not a flashy movie, and it's based on a very boring theme. It's a military Navy, trial film, court film, so what?
Laughing at something else, sir.
Oh, but although if I remember correctly, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. In this time period right here, of the early 90s to mid 90s, I believe that that trial movies, court movies, were very popular right then. During that time period, there were a lot of them that were getting made.
Yeah, we were starting to. Yeah, because next year the firm comes out, like a lot of those like type of these crime drama started to be more popular.
Yeah,
I mean,
you had Amistad came out. You know what I'm saying? And you had Amistad. And then you had The Rainmaker with Matt Damon.
yeah, 1997 it comes out. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah, not a good one. That's a good one.
Cyber, which ones am I missing? There's 2 or 3 other ones that came out right in that same period.
Primal Fear, then The Time to Kill. That's another great courtroom.
Time to Kill was another courtroom one. Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, trying to figure out what other one.
Also a Matthew McConaughey, just like Amistad.
Oh yes, yeah. I always forget about Matthew McConaughey's in those movies. Yeah, and then
Yes, sir. At one point, Matthew McConaughey's career in the mid to late 90s, everybody wanted him to be a really serious actor. They thought that's what he was going to do.
Yeah, The Client. That's another one. I think that's a courtroom thing.
I can't remember.
Yeah, that's another like John Grisham movie. But yeah, Jeff. The last movie that Rob Reiner did was Misery. Kathy Bates won the Oscar for best.
Oh, he did. Misery was his second film.
Yeah, well, that's his last movie he did before he made this movie. Yeah. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you get an actress that got like, if you get your actor to win,
so he had made. I get it. He had made a serious, high level film already. I get it.
Yeah, that was the Oscar thing. Yeah, so makes sense.
Okay. Anyway, Cyber, I'm good, sir. I can say a couple other things, but we're getting up there to that 2-hour mark. You know what I mean? So I'll shut up.
All right. All that for a 9.75, folks. Just to let you know.
Fuck you, sir. Fuck you.
He's 60-minute man, extra tonight.
I had a stressful fucking day, which you don't even know about because we didn't talk about it or whatever earlier. But I had a stressful day, and and you cannot blame a guy for needing to burn off a little bit of steam, or whatever, be a little over talking him, So
yeah, and I can also go on and be like, oh, 60-minute man, because it's a joke.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, sir. I don't care. You can call me 60-minute man all day. You know what I'm saying? I'm good with that.
Anyways, folks, I will give it a 10 out of 10 because I love it. And it's one of my favorite films. So I give it a 10 out of 10. Unlike some, I don't have a hard time giving a movie a 10 out of 10 because I don't consider 10 out of 10 perfect.
Cyber gives out lots of 10. Cyber loves to give out 10. I consider 10 out of 10 perfect. I consider 10 out of 10 if it entertained me. That's what I consider 10 out of 10. Will, the way the hierarchy
Can I talk, please, Jeff?
Our rating, Will, is that Cyber gives out a lot of 10s. Andres also gives out 10s occasionally here and there, and then I give out the least 10s at the end of the day.
Yeah, he gives 9.25, 9.75. He likes to give the quarters and the 3/4 and halves. Oh, we just love him for that. Anywho, as I was saying, so yeah, 10 out of 10 does not mean perfection to me, like some people consider 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for me is if it entertained me, I enjoyed it, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. If I don't enjoy it, it'll get a 0. If I find it halfway entertaining, I'll get a 5. So I go on entertainment value because that's what, to me, movies are. Movies are to get out of reality and to have some entertainment. I'm not looking at them like they're an art piece or there's something of superness. I'm looking at them as what they were intended when the first movies were being made, to entertain people. And that's why I give a lot of 10s, because if I find it entertaining, it'll get a 10 out of 10. So that's how it works, folks. That's how it works.
I can understand that. All right.
Yes.
For the record, I did want to mention, I did notice that Tom Cruise and Demi Moore's character didn't get together, but I didn't mention it out of respect for Andreas because I know he dated Demi Moore in the 90s. So I wanted to I felt like that would kind of, it might have been a hard time, so I didn't want to bring it up. So that's why I didn't mention it. Just wanted to let you know.
I think that was a very brave move for 1992 to have them not have sex, because back then, you know what I'm saying, like, in those movies back then, the love interests always had sex.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if it's radar, yeah.
No, they always did. They always did.
Oh, yeah. No, going to bed, yeah. But, yeah, I was shocked too. Will, when I was staying dating more, in the timeline, we were in a like I could tell you guys because we're no longer together. I'm married. I'm a
Knowing
faithful
Andre,
man.
since he likes to be with 68-year-old Angela Bassett and shit like that or whatever. Knowing Andre's, he's probably with the alternate version of Demi Moore where she's like 60.
Okay, we're not together, but anyway, we're in an open relationship, so I was fine with her dating Tom Cruise or whatever she was doing. We're experimenting our relationship.
Cyber, I bet you $20, sir. Andre's a pop culture. I would never enter an open relationship.
Oh my god!
If he even has a relationship.
Yes, I cannot.
Mr. Cock.
That's here or there. I'm just saying, in the years I've spent with Andres, I'd like to believe by now I've learned enough to know that at the end of the day, he's not that adventurous.
Would you like me to ask the Fantastic Four question? If you want me to do that, you got it.
Yes.
Anyways,
yes, sir. We have time, sir.
Well, I only have so much time. Okay. Anywho, so he wants me to ask, what are people's thoughts on the Fantastic Four coming out? Time cop.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, I'm very excited. I mean, not the biggest fan of the franchise or the characters, but I mean, they're very important to Marvel in general. You understand the history of Marvel comic books. I mean, these are the guys that got Marvel Universe starting back in the 60s. So, and the film, the film adaptations of their movies from 2005 and 2015 were very not good, did not represent them as well as some of the more successful ones like X-Men or Spider-Man and of course the MCU in general. So I'm very excited that the MCU is finally doing them. I'm very optimistic. I mean, it's so annoying that they're coming off of Superman, a good film. I mean, 8 out of 10 movie. I mean, it was the Superman movie I wanted. So I just hope, cross my fingers, that it's going to be the Fantastic Four movie we're looking for. But at least they're getting Galactus right. So I'm happy about that. So, but yeah, that's my feelings right now. I'm going to see it next week when I'm going on vacation. I don't know what day. I already got my Fantastic Four shirt. So yeah, I'm pumped.
On vacation? Aren't you always on vacation?
I mean, me and my mom are going to Texas. Top secret. Okay.
Okay. Anywho,
you can't blame
Jeffrey,
him. You can't blame him for going out on vacation once in a while. It's good for him.
Yeah.
He's on a permanent vacation. Anyways, what's your thoughts on Fantastic Four, Jeffrey?
I don't know, sir. I may be the only one over here or whatever, but I'm very, very, very pessimistic right now about the film. I'll be honest with you. Honestly, I don't think the trailers are good. For one thing, I don't believe they're good. They're not good MCU trailers. Frankly, Marvel Studios is good at making trailers, man. I mean, fuck. They managed to fucking make trailers for Ant-Man Quantumania that were so good, that made the film so hyped. You know what I'm saying? And it was the worst stinking pile of shit, fucking piece of garbage, fucking film to sit through and watch ever. You know what I'm saying? But they can make trailers. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that the Fantastic Four trailers don't look all that great to me, exciting to me at all, really, I don't know, man. It doesn't bode well. And this is not coming from a biased place where, yes, I do personally, as Cyber knows, as Andres knows, and you'll learn, Will. Yes, I do tend to not favor, be more into the darker, more mature, adult-orientated comic book, genre stuff. And I'm less intrigued and less enthusiastic about the more lighthearted, family, friendly, you know what I'm saying? Lighthearted, humor type projects, which is what this Fantastic Four movie obviously is, that is the direction that they went in with the Fantastic Four. That whole, they're living in a 60s, time period culture where, the people talk in a very, PG-13, type way. You know what I mean? So that Marvel humor that they're so well known, for having, which that can be very bad at times, like in Thor: Love and Thunder at times, it can be bad. There's gonna be a lot of it in the Fantastic Four, and if it's not good, if it falls flat, that's not gonna help the film. And then I guess all I'll say other than that is just that I think that Galactus is awesome. Having Galactus in the movie is awesome. Anybody who has any comic book knowledge at all, and is an MCU fan from back in the day, from the beginning, has been wanting Galactus to be in something, this whole time at some point. So that's great. How they're going to use him, how much we'll see of him, how much he'll be in the movie, we'll see. You know what I mean? Hopefully we'll see quite a bit of it. I don't want to see a cameo, right? I hate the female Silver Surfer in the movie. I hate that they did that. I feel like, that's a waste. If you're going to do a Silver Surfer, do the Silver Surfer. You know what I'm saying? Right? But at the same time, I understand that they're probably just wanting to use her off, in one film as a one-off as that character, right? Maybe to save the actual Silver Surfer for later projects. So we'll see. But overall, I'm a little bit pessimistic. I am, just because I think the movie might end up being too lighthearted and too family-friendly, and that might hurt the film. To be honest with you, if it's not done effectively, it might hurt the movie. And also, if there's not enough action, that's going to hurt the movie a lot. And there's not a lot of action in those trailers.
Okie dokie. Will, any thoughts on the Fantastic Four film, sir?
I wasn't. I didn't realize everybody's so. I don't want to say down on it, but I mean, we all have reason to be trepidatious.
Will Andre said he's all positive about it.
Oh, pretty positive about it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Like I said, I'm what's the right word? Carefully optimistic, I guess is the right word. I'm not a huge fan of the cast, which, don't get me wrong, they're all fantastic actors, but for characters as big as the Fantastic Four, I almost kind of would have preferred no-name actors, ones that we don't really know of that much, to really give them a chance to
good point
take over and sink into the character. I remember when I heard the casting announcement, I was like, I don't really like that. And also, my wife, she feels like Johnny Storm is not attractive enough to really be Johnny Storm, which, I mean, I don't really have an opinion on that, but that's just part of the casting thing. After, I will say, I'm feeling a lot better about it after Thunderbolts, because I thought Thunderbolts was way better than Captain America: Brave New World.
Yeah.
And so
Great.
Thunderbolts has made me excited for Fantastic Four. So I am excited to see it. I will say that. And I would attribute that to what happened in Thunderbolts as to why I'm excited. Like, if we had just gotten Captain America: Brave New World, I wouldn't be as excited. I'm a huge Marvel guy. You guys all know this. But I would say I am excited, and I would attribute that to Thunderbolts. So we'll see what happens.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Yeah, as everyone knows, I'm kind of on the same page as Jeff. I'm very, really, I don't have an opinion except for that I don't think it was casted correctly. I think the only person that they casted properly was Sue Storm. She's the only one that really, I feel, actually is the Sue Storm look. Pedro Pascal, I'm sorry, is not Reed Richards. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what his fans say. He is not Reed Richards. You're better off with John Krasinski. You're better off with Ian Grufford. You're better off with anybody else. Because Reed Richards is this very nerdy, very sophisticated, smart dude. And Pedro Pascal does not look like a nerdy dude. He just looks like, he does not look that.
Cyber, can he even play that kind of character? He
doesn't, and you can see it in the trailers. He is definitely just, I think, was the worst casting choice of the whole film. Now, the fact that it's being placed in the 60s, I think that's kind of an interesting approach of taking it, but that definitely is very Matt Shankman. I feel, especially after how he did WandaVision, where he had the TV series go through different, stages of the years. So that's definitely wasn't shocking. But at the same time, it's kind of like, what are you going to really do with that? I mean, you can see that they have like somewhat technology in it, but at the same time, it's like it's very limited. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they fight Galacticus with that type of aging, that type of era. But other than that, yeah, I was not a big fan of them using the female Silver Surfer, which we all have found out that it's not supposed to be a gender swap. It's supposed to be this other one that's been in the comics.
Yeah, she's in the comics.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And but at the same time, it's like you're thinking if you want the first on-screen Marvel Studios version of a Silver Surfer, you would want to use the original Silver Surfer, but they decided not to go that way. That's just how they felt. But just with how I was very wonky on WandaVision, there was some good to it, there was some bad to it. It wasn't my favorite show, but it's definitely decent. I'm trying to have high hopes, but until I actually see it, I don't really have any thoughts on how I feel it's going to be. Brave New World, I thought was okay. Thunderbolts, I thought was definitely better, which is kind of funny because Brave New World actually financially did better than Thunderbolts.
I know.
Which is odd. But at the same time, it's like, okay, this is what you put out so far this year. It's not really the greatest track record for, MCU, especially after the last 4 years of what they put out. But I'm hoping that it's decent enough to enjoy. But if it ends up being the pile of poo that I think that it might be because of just all the things they decided to push into it, it's too bad because the Fantastic Four is such a great creation, and I absolutely love the first two that they did in the early 2000s. I love that cast. That cast to me was the Fantastic Four, and I'm sorry, but Chris Evans, Human Torch was on point. Ian Gruffudd's Reed Richards was on point. Jessica Alba's Sue Storm was fantastic. And then the freaking Ben Grimm in that series was Ben Grimm. That was the thing. And, Evan Moss, I've heard a lot of good things about. He's been in that Bear show and everything like that.
The Punisher?
The Punisher. I'm not super familiar with his work. The voice does not work for me in the film. What I've seen in the trailers, I don't like that, especially since he doesn't like saying
he was in the first season of Andor too, and he was fucking awesome. He was in the heist arc.
Yep. And so I'm optimistic. I'm trying to be optimistic about the thing because I do think visually he looks decent, a lot better than the 2015 iteration. But at the same time, it's like you can't go any worse than the 2015 Fantastic Four. So, I'm hoping that this one is better and maybe at the caliber of the two I.
Yeah, but Cyber, I heard a very like high level rumor that there's very little action scenes with him in it.
So yeah, so right there, that's not a good sign. So, anyways, I'm hoping for the best. But also, I won't be let down if it isn't the best. So hopefully it'll be decent. Anyways, great job, everyone. All right. Turn it over to you, Jeffrey. Take us out.
Good points there at the end there, Cyber. You made some good points about the Fantastic Four. I would have one question for you. You saw the trailers for the Fantastic Four, Cyber. You didn't see those trailers and get a little bit pessimistic about the film?
God. I've seen all the trailers, and from all the trailers, I have very little hope.
Okay, thank you, sir. I apologize that I disrupted your muted status, my friend. Anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed or will enjoy at some point down the road, this review of A Few Good Men, a wonderful film, our first movie review in several months. It was very enjoyable. I look forward to it, doing it. And I can't wait for the next one. Next Friday, I believe we have Resident Evil, which is another classic, awesome sci-fi movie. I can't wait to watch that again. Will, thanks for joining us again, brother. on the panel. We love having you, man. Will was so kind that he signed up for a DC animated film with us next week too. Justice League Dawn of Atlantis. So thanks, Will. We'll see you again soon, obviously, which will be fun. And Andre's pop culture guy. Thank you, sir. Cyber, great job tonight moderating, my friend. And we will go ahead and do our content plugs, and then we will sign off on this live stream show / episode. So, Andre's the pop culture guy, sir. Here you go. I'll start you off.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for the awesome A Few Good Man review. Will, it was great to see you again, brother. It was a blast. So recently, just did my draws in respect to such review. I just recently did today my Batman Assault on Arkham short review, so you can check that out. This Sunday, me and Jeff are going to review the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie to honor Superman and all that. And soon Peacemaker season 2. So let's start doing this new shared universe that James Gunn's going to do. So that's going to be great. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm currently working on a couple things right now. I'm finishing up my top 10 DC EU ranking of the movies. That was a tough one. But yeah, you're going to expect that tomorrow. Yep, that's where I'm at right now. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, sir. That is wonderful to hear. And as always, sir, I look forward to doing our weekend live stream on Sunday and talk about Suicide Squad. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
Good film to talk about.
Yeah, one of the best DC films so far.
Maybe the best.
Yes. No, that's true. Yeah. That and Dark Knight. It's you want to include all the DC films, yeah.
Yeah, and the Snyder cut. But you can't. Of course, you can't. You got to exclude him because that movie's in its own category.
Yeah.
All right, Blurred Wire.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to be on and talk about such a fantastic film. You can find me everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, on the Blurred Wire. I just like to post nerdy content. I've been reviewing all the summer movies, How to Train Your Dragon, Mission Impossible, Ballerina. I just dropped Superman, and I just dropped Jurassic World Rebirth, and I ranked my top Jurassic World movies. So come on over to the Blurred Wire, YouTube, where you get your podcasts, Instagram, TikTok, and let's nerd out.
All right. Will, you are one concise motherfucker, bro.
Thank you.
Hey, that's good for you, sir. Good for you, sir. That's a that's a talent that not every person has.
I'm jealous now.
Hey, you dated Demi Moore, so
That's true.
He just says that because both of them are 60-minute men.
If in real life, if Audrey, the pop culture guy, ever had a chance to stick it to Demi Moore, he would ejaculate before he even actually entered her vagina.
How would Angela Bassett feel about this podcast, huh?
She knew I dated her. That's all. Thankfully, she's in another country doing stuff. So anyway.
All right, Cyberneticshark, sir. Here you are, sir.
All right, guys. So if you enjoy my moderating or enjoy me on the panel, check out my soul content. You'll find me on Cyberneticshark on YouTube, TikTok.
Cyber, we can't hear you, sir. You when you move, you must have tripped your wire. We can't hear you.
I think I was just too far away. Anywho, so anyways, folks, if you enjoy me as a moderator on the MCU'S Bleeding Edge here, check out the solo content under Cyberneticshark. You'll find me on YouTube, TikTok, X, Threads, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, pretty much anywhere you can find a social media platform, you'll find me. Anywho, but as you can see there, my most recent review is of the live-action Lilo and Stitch there. If you haven't checked that out, give it a whirl. If you haven't seen the Wicked for Good trailer, check out my trailer reaction of that. Most recent trailer reaction. Be having a trailer reaction up of Now You See Me, Now You Don't tonight, so keep your eyes out for that guy. And then, of course, I'll have some more shorts up for you guys soon as well. Still, my last couple shorts were, of course, of some recent films I had seen. And we have more of that for you guys, too. We'll have my Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning review up soon for you guys. Just keep on watching, keep on seeing. You'll be seeing a lot of films that came out the end of May and through June here coming up finally. Just a lot of stuff to edit and put out. So keep your eyes out. We appreciate you guys for watching us here on the Episode of the Edge. Thank all the people that are on the panel. You guys are all rocking it. And of course, as always, we appreciate guys. Keep liking us, keep subscribing to us, keep watching us here on the MCU'S Bleeding Edge on Wednesdays and Fridays. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Cyber. Great job, sir. Good plugs. Most definitely. We appreciate you, sir. Yes, sir. That you got. I'm telling you, sir. I think you must have some loose wire, because all you did was move for a minute, and it triggered your audio to kind of get thrown off for a minute. Anyways, folks, we love you out there in the audience and all that. You know, it's not large, but we appreciate all of you. Support the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. Most definitely, you know, more important than any other plug, we are a podcast. So rate and follow us. We love that. We don't have a lot of ratings, and I really appreciate having more. Besides that, you know, it is Friday night for us. So have a wonderful weekend. And we hope everybody out there is doing well and awesome. We'll see you again. At least next week for us on Wednesday for DC animated films, Justice League, Throne of Atlantis, which should be interesting. I've never seen that before. Anyways, thanks to everybody that was on the panel. Thanks again, Cyber. Appreciate everybody out there. God bless you. We're out of here.